What's happening, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Unless you're watching on YouTube, then happy Tuesday. And welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. And tonight, we're going to be reviewing the Dynasty WarZone's wide receiver staff rankings. But I'll tell you who's always at the top of the co-host rankings. You know him as the man of the hour and the man with the power. He is Jerry Sinclair. Jerry, what's up, man?
What is up, my friend? Back again. Another week, another legendary performance by Randall to bring me on. And we get to talk about wide receivers, which is right up my wheelhouse, my friend.
Yeah, man. Last night, myself and Matty Big Chest and Kyle of the FF SmackDown, we did a little rookie wide receiver smash up. So we took the wide receivers of the 2020 class and we took the wide receivers of the 2021 class and we drafted 1 through 12. I will tell you, there were 7 members of the 2020 class and 5 members of 2021. If you want to know in what particular order, go back and listen to yesterday's Dynasty WarZone. And speaking of listening to the Dynasty WarZone, guys, going to give you what's coming up once the Super Bowl ends. So we put away the prop shows, the DFS shows, the just getting back to some basics. So on Monday, we will be doing all of our rookie content and mock drafts every Monday from now through, I'm going to say, maybe Memorial Day. We're going to do a lot of rookie content. We're going to do some startup content. That will all be on Monday night on YouTube, Tuesday in podcast form. Then Tuesday nights for the Wednesday show will be this show. Me and that guy, Jerry Sinclair. We're going to be over here, and we're going to keep this thing. We're going to continue to talk strategy. We're going to talk veteran players. We're going to talk some startups. We're going to talk orphans. We're going to talk salary cap. We're going to talk free agency. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that will impact your existing roster with some existing strategy. And then Wednesdays live on YouTube. This is after the Super Bowl. Currently, this is on Thursday. But live on Wednesday nights, the Thursday after the Super Bowl, I will be doing the Dynasty Happy Hour Contractor. Jerry, it's back. I know you love the Contractor.
I do love the Contractor. I was rocking my shirt the other day.
The Dynasty Happy Hour Contractor. Tyler, the big man over at the Dynasty Happy Hour, he'll launch that dude on podcast as soon as he can. But if you want to see it live or you want to get it in real time, it'll be available on our YouTube channel, Dynasty WarZone on YouTube. You want to make sure that you are subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss any of these wonderful shows. And speaking of wonderful, all of you wonderful people who might want to do a 5-star review, head over to whatever podcast platform you are listening on. And dude, drop us a 5-star. We are just a couple away from 200. Jerry, I want to get to 200 before the Super Bowl, don't you? Come on.
I was looking earlier. I was hoping it got a little bit closer, but we're crawling there. We're close. It's just teasing me at this point. Just somebody steal somebody's phone. Don't get in trouble. Don't do nothing stupid. But you got a friend that hasn't yet. Just help us out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man, you don't have to subscribe. I mean, you can subscribe to the podcast. They can wonder, what the hell. We'll take the download for damn sure. But just slide into your workmate's phone. Say, hey, listen to podcast. Say, yeah. Say, what are you listening on? Oh, hey, let me borrow your phone for a minute. I'm going to do some guys a solid. So, and I can't read your reviews unless you write them. We love reading them, good or bad. And so get on over to Apple, get on over to Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, wherever it is that you listen, and hook us up, man. And if you're not on social media, again, you can follow me at DWZ Memphis. You can follow Jerry at JerrySin DWZ. You can follow the show at Dynasty WarZone on Instagram and Twitter. But if you're not there, I've been getting a couple of emails, Jerry, at Dynasty WarZone asking for a little roster help, looking to be steered in the right direction, if you will. And been trying to help some folks out. So if you're not on social media, you can just check out Dynasty WarZone at Gmail, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So, Jerry, are you ready to talk about wide receivers?
I am always ready to talk about wide receivers.
Perfect, because I'm going to make you wait a few minutes, and we're going to talk about the firing of Doug Peterson first, because I'm a jerk.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I want to make sure to let you know that this segment is brought to you by our Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Man, this thing's popping. We brought in like 5 new members last week. Tom and Frank, and I know I'm missing names, but man, these guys are already in there mixing it up with everybody. And startup season will be here right after the Super Bowl. And all of our leagues that were paid leagues, we had some that were free, some that got some t-shirts, some that, were just playing for the glory of winning a Dynasty fantasy football league. But all the people that needed paid got paid, and we're going to be doing it again. So if you're looking to get into a little startup action with like-minded people, you get a bonus podcast every week. You get custom one-on-ones. You get a lot for the value. We have since added a gambling side chat for those that are into little wagering on sports. We've got some cool stuff going. So if you're just interested, you can always go over and sign up today at patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. But you can also slide my DMs, Jerry's GMs, GM Jerry. You can slide in Jerry's DMs anytime you like. And you can leave a pick or two. Hey, that's between you and Jerry. But all right, speaking of picks, the Philadelphia Eagles decided to pick a new head coach. They let Doug Peterson go. A lot of people thought he was safe. Now, earlier in the day on Tuesday, when he got let go, I was listening to the GM Shuffle podcast with Mike Lombardi, and he said, there's about a 15% chance that he gets to keep his job. And I was like, man, there's no way. He won a Super Bowl. And I was like, I'll be damned. One of our patrons, as a matter of fact, put in the group chat, Doug Peterson relieved of his duties in Philadelphia. So, Jerry, when you saw that, what was your immediate reaction from both a fan's standpoint and as a Dynasty connoisseur?
I was like you. I did not think that shit was going to happen at all. Listen, I get that the fall from grace for the Philadelphia Eagles has been a pretty sharp and rapid decline, but not a lot of guys can win a Super Bowl. And that team was not excellent that won the Super Bowl, and it had a lot to do with him. So I was shocked. If the Detroit Lions hired him, I would not be extremely opposed to it. I think they could do worse. It was something. But I want to talk to you about the fantasy outlook, because I know you have quite the polarizing opinion on what it's going to do to Jalen Hurts, because, a lot of people paid a lot of value for Jalen Hurts. So talk about that a little bit, because I saw you went on a little bit of a rant about it. So let me poke your brain.
Sure. Well, my first thing is I've always wanted to, maybe I'm giving away gold nuggets here for someone who wants to start a Dynasty podcast of their own, but I've thought about starting like a once a month show called The Business of Dynasty, or The Business of Football, or Business and Dynasty, or something like that. Because to me, this was simply a business move. What did Carson Wentz say? Carson Wentz said, my relationship with Doug Peterson is fractured beyond repair. So what did Howie Roseman, the GM, and the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, do? They said, cool, Doug, you gots to go. Why? They've got 100 plus million reasons to make this work with Carson Wentz. Does that mean Carson Wentz is the better starting quarterback than Jalen Hurts? The Fly Eagles Fly podcast with Greg Cosell did a great job of breaking it down. I thought the 3 and Out podcast from former Eagle scout John Middlecoff did a great job of breaking it down. And then today I was listening on the radio on the way home from work. I heard Peter King break it down. Guys, this is about Carson Wentz's contract. It cost them an additional $25 million of cap space to cut him. Now, this is a team that's already got to cut like $50 million. So Alshon's gone. Deshaun Jackson's gone. There's a couple other guys gone. Zach Ertz more than likely gone. A lot of guys are going to be gone. But if they trade Carson Wentz or cut him, another 25. So not only is he gone, you've already scratched him a big check, but you got to cut another $25 million worth of players to make this happen. It is a very, very, very detrimental move for the next 2 seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles. So what's the best thing that can do? Obviously, Carson Wentz was not able to be fixed by Doug Peterson. They're going to bring someone in. I love the fact that they brought in Arthur Smith for an interview, or they at least requested the opportunity to interview him. Arthur Smith is credited with resurrecting Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. I like that a lot, and I like that a lot for Dallas Goedert. On a side note, but this is not about Jalen Hurts. This is about Carson Wentz's contract. I also think that Jalen Hurts is potentially a trade candidate. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If they said Doug Peterson, if he says Doug Peterson and I can't work together, okay, we got rid of one obstacle for Carson Wentz, and the other one he's intimidated, and right or wrong, you don't have to agree with it for it to be what it is. He's intimidated by Jalen Hurts. Well, you get him gone too. Now, Jerry, I know you're not a parent yet yourself, but have you ever heard the term helicopter parent?
I have not. I'm assuming it means you hover.
You hover over your kid and you make sure everything is safe and they don't fall down and they're wearing their helmet and they're wearing their little elbow pads. Well, there's
my wife and the dog. Got it.
Okay, yeah. There's a new type of parent called a bulldozer parent. Okay, are you familiar with the concept?
I am not.
What a bulldozer basically road grades everything, every obstacle out of their kid's way. So the kid's doing bad at school, it must be the teacher's fault. The kid's getting bad grades, it's because the teacher doesn't like him, or whatever. The kid's not playing sports, the coach just has it out for my son. They bulldoze every obstacle out of their child's way, and that's what it feels like the Philadelphia Eagles are doing for Carson Wentz. They're going to bulldoze every obstacle out of his way to make him as comfortable as possible based on what they owe him. Again, you don't have to agree with what they're doing. It doesn't even make it right. But financially, they're stuck like Chuck. They're going to be owing this man, I think it's a $25 million cap hit this year and $20 million the year after. Come on. You can't afford to take that kind of hit. So I don't know what will happen. Now, I have a couple of winners. I think the winners in this long term are going to be Carson Wentz. I think the winner in this is going to be Miles Sanders. I know Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, but he was not smart enough to run Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you help a struggling quarterback? I mean, this is not a shot at Baker. I've got a newfound amount of respect for Baker Mayfield. But how did a really sharp coach in Kevin Stefanski support Baker Mayfield? Very simply, he loaded up on a really good offensive line, and he built the offense off of the running game and allowed Baker to grow into it. Doug Peterson, for whatever reason, knew his offensive line was decimated by injuries, his quarterback struggling. So you know what we'll do? We'll run Miles Sanders exactly 6 times a game. I'm like, what? I mean, why? Why though? Why would you do that?
He didn't even pass to him that much either. He just ignored the man.
So I will be super excited to see a new quarterback. And then, if you don't want to take my word for it, just get on YouTube, just get on Twitter and search the Eagles owner post Doug Peterson press conference. You will hear him say everything, but this is all about Carson Wentz. So if you invested heavily in Jalen Hurts, he's the loser in this. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry that you invested, if you did, in a player with a 4-game sample size that was descending. He had the nice little game against New Orleans. Then he had the blow-up game against a marginal defense in Arizona. Then it started going downhill. It went downhill against the Cowboys. And then he finished. I know he got pulled unceremoniously and not really his fault. But he was 7 for 20 for 72 yards after 3 quarters. That's not to say that he couldn't have pulled the nose up on that aircraft. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's not like he was going out there lighting it up. Was he lighting up your fantasy box score? Absolutely. Was he lighting up the real box score? Not so much. He was not able to do enough and not able to advance the ball. And when a guy goes 7 for 35 and one of the big knocks on him is ball placement, and you're seeing some of the balls that he was throwing, you saw it. And this is why you don't make rash reactional moves in Dynasty based off of 4 games. Maybe you could have bought some equity, but this is why I like Jalen Hurts, the prospect. I like the idea of Jalen Hurts. That's why I said trade Jalen Hurts to New England. They just spent the entire 2020 season with a mobile quarterback. They are in the AFC. They need a quarterback. They're a team that's known for trading. Why not? That's a great opportunity for Jalen Hurts. So hopefully they do trade him to a team that could maximize his skill set, then there are no losers. The Jalen Hurts people who acquired him and his fans will see him in a new roster, and Carson Wentz gets a shot at redemption. That's the best case scenario. So I don't know what will actually happen, Jerry, but that's my spiel as it relates to Senior Wentz.
Well, god damn, if that wasn't a well-versed, well-evidenced argument right there, my friend. As the people know, I am dick deep in writing a thesis right now. And if I could come up with half a good of argument as you just put for that, I would be sitting much prettier than I am right now. I think it's good. And it helps that we are we're pro Wentz people. So we're also sort of hoping what you just went on your rant about is the case, but
that's not for me. For me, it's all about giving accurate information based off what I see. And I will be the first to admit I do like Carson Wentz. I do remember the guy who was the MVP candidate who had it unceremoniously stolen away from him due to a double ligament injury against the Rams. He was killing that season. Someone posted how many 4 touchdown games has Carson Wentz had since 2018. Well, that's a little bit picky and choosy. If you go back to 2017, my man had 4 touchdown games that year. So let us not forget. So they'll be bringing someone in, and this is about money. That's why I want to do something at some point, maybe a once-a-month show about the business mindset of Dynasty. That's where I attack. So speaking of business, let's give a shout out to one, Jerry. Let's give a shout out to the people who are providing that fine cap that you are wearing upon your dome. He is wearing the NWO-inspired Dynasty WarZone hat, all black with the white logo. There's also the khaki dad hat. You saw that on Monday night, rocking it by Matty Biggs. We've got T-shirts. Jerry's got a Dynasty Happy Hour contractor T-shirt. There's a Goat District T-shirt. There's a lot of different T-shirts at ViridianGlobal.com. That is our apparel provider, as well as a ton of other stuff. You'll see our boy Matty Big Chest, TJ Hawkamania running wild at Viridian Global. You'll see Aaron Godgers. The font looks like cheese because he's a Packer, Jerry. That's why it's great. Cheese, Jerry.
I got it. Full circle.
Perfect, man. Okay, so it's cheese. It's cheese, Jerry. So
why is it cheese?
Because he's in Green Bay.
I got it. I'm just fucking.
He's in Green Bay. Why else? It's like the cheese capital of the world. Great cheese. But head over to Viridian Global, VERIDIAN, Viridian Global, and just check it out, man. You don't have to buy anything. Just cruise around, look at the stuff, and hit up Maddie for a first-time shoppers promo code. So, Jerry, this is something that we have not really done publicly. We have always done our ranks kind of in unique places. Last year, I was doing some rankings with the gang over at Dynasty Happy Hour. And one of the things our patrons really wanted at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone was they were like, can we get some rankings? And we were like, well, yeah, we work for you guys. You're the patron. We work for you. So over there right now, there is a copy of our staff rankings. Who was on the staff? Well, that's me and Jerry, Matty Big Chest, Dr. Kyle, as well as Kyle August of the FF SmackDown. He will be bringing the SmackDown to the DWZ in a couple of months. You'll be able to get some redraft content. And let's see, his co-host, Jake Hrip. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Jake, HRIP. He wrote for the Fantasy Red Shirts. He wrote for the Ball Blastem team in 2020. And as well as Tyler. Jerry, where are my manners? I forgot Tyler and Lou. So there are 8 guys, cumulative rankings across 8 different guys. So we do not have Tyler and we do not have Lou's rankings yet, nor Jake. So these are based off of 5. These are mine, Jerry's, Kyle's, and Maddie's. So are you ready to jump into these, Jerry?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to give you the staff rankings, and I'm going to go one by one, and you can tell me if you agree or if you disagree. Are you ready? Here we go.
I'm always ready.
The consensus 101 for the Dynasty WarZone team is Tyreek Hill. Now, where do you have Tyreek Hill on your rankings?
At number 1. I mean, we did the mock draft. We did that mock draft, and I took him number 2 overall in the startup, which is a little hot takey. Don't get me wrong, but I just love the dude. I mean, he's set up with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and he's a monster. I don't know what more people could want.
For me, this is. I know a lot of people like to go super young, super
Yeah.
hot takey. I've seen some rankings, and everybody's entitled to their own philosophy. I think our rankings are pretty young overall. But it's hard not to have Tyreek Hill at the top of the list. He's not hit the age apex as a receiver, and man, he's got the contract. He's married to, not figuratively, but I guess figuratively, not literally. And he's 26 years old. He's not even hit the fabled age apex. He'll be 27 in March, but that's okay. He's going into his prime. So for me, I also agree it is Tyreek Hill at the 101 as far as wide receivers. And I can tell you that there's a lot more discrepancy at 2 and 3. So let's jump into 2, Jerry.
Yeah.
So the 2 for the group consensus is Devontae Adams. What say you? Who is your number 2?
We are chalk on that one as well. I could understand somebody not having him at 2 just because of his age. But when a dude can get 18 touchdowns and he's tied to Aaron Rodgers and the dude just scores. I mean, the thing about touchdowns is they win you championships. So it's tough for me to not have him at 2. So I'm not super surprised that he's there.
Technically, he just hit the wrong side of the age apex. He's a Christmas Eve baby. He was born on December 24th, but that doesn't bother me much. I actually have him as my personal 3 at the wide receiver position. We'll get into my number 2 in a minute, but no, the only this sounds foolish to say, but it is Dynasty, and we're going to get into some startup and how you acquire these guys in our final segment of the show. But man, how do you not go? Devontae Adams if you're in win now mode? If you're going to win a ship, if you're doing a startup in February, how do you not go Devontae Adams at the 101? I like to be a little bit younger, but Aaron Rodgers, as long as he's got Aaron Rodgers, man, he's gold. He is gold. He is unaffected by anyone else. He gets all the volume. So that is our staff consensus. Wide receiver 2, Devontae Adams. This next one may shock some, but it is A.J. Brown, Jerry. A.J. Brown, wide receiver 3 for the staff. Now, again, this is aggregate across everybody. Where do you have Mr. Brown?
I have A.J. Brown at 5. So can I be mad that he's 3? No. He's young. He's a bad man who can just explode in any game, in any situation that you need him to. And I mean, if he can do it with Ryan Tannehill, don't get me wrong, Ryan Tannehill, good quarterback, but he's like Andy Dalton plus. If A.J. Brown is ever in a situation where he gets an elite quarterback, he's going to be a superhero. And with Corey Davis and his impending free agency, the ceiling could be the roof for A.J. Brown. So I'm not going to be mad that anyone has the man at 3. I wouldn't be mad if you had him at 1 or 2, considering his age either. It's not something I'm going to do, but if we're talking about this in 365 days from today and he's the wide receiver 1, are you going to be surprised? Because I sure as hell am not.
He is my personal 4. I'm a little bit ahead of our I guess I'm behind. If he's the staff's 3 and my 4, but I'm right there in that range. I love the guy. My one knock is that he's missed a couple of games here or there with injury. He plays a very physical, very aggressive style. Now, he's a big man, a strong man, and super, super young. I love the yak. I love the ability to get the ball in space and take it a very, very long distance. I would like to see the volume go up a little bit, but we know the volume in Tennessee tends to go to one Derrick Henry as he's getting, 25-plus rushes a game. And when the average team sees about, I think the number I saw was 64 offensive snaps a game on average, there's about 40-45% of it going to a running back. And then you sprinkle the rest around, if the QB is a slightly above average passer, he completes 66% of his balls. So that's only so many to go around in Tennessee. I'd like to see a little bit more volume. If he was getting the volume of some of these other guys we're going to talk about, he would be easily in my top 2 or 3, but I definitely love A.J. Brown. This next guy, he rose a bunch. So we wrote these in the month of December, and then we just recently updated them at the end of our season rankings. So this guy had a record-breaking rookie campaign. His name is Justin Jefferson. I see Jerry pumping his fist. Jerry, where do you have him? He is our staff consensus 4, but he is your what?
3.
Okay.
There are some of us that are on the staff that are lazier than others and just updated them an hour before the show and had to send them to you in a hurry.
His name rhymes with Jerry.
Yes, it does. Hey, what do you want me to say about Justin Jefferson? This dude came into the league and looked like a madman. He was a madman in college with Joe Burrow. He comes into a situation that's semi-conducive to be successful. Stephon Diggs left, so there was an opening, but Adam Thielen is still a monster. Kirk Cousins is not exactly known for being a prolific passer. He's usually pretty efficient. And then they have Dalvin Cook, who has a ding-ding that just drags on the floor, so they give him most of the work. And Adam Thielen was good. Adam Thielen had a good passable season. And Justin Jefferson came into this league as a rookie and danced all over everybody he played. He had monster games. He had highly efficient games. He just looked like a technician at times. I don't know how people are going to assume that he's not going to continue to just be awesome. And you look at Adam Thielen's contract, they've got an out. I mean, he's $13 million cap hit, only $5 million is dead cap for next year. They got a little bit of an out. And let's say they do part ways. I mean, the man is how old? 31 years old next year. I mean, he's borderline me. Now he's in a little bit better shape than me. It's close. It's a close art. Don't you give me those shocked eyes.
Well, I guess round is a shape.
But then let's say they do part ways, and then they have to bring in a rookie. Okay. How many times do rookies come in and they're Justin effing Jefferson? Not very often. So he could very well be in a situation where he's just the dude. And the thing about it is at the second half of the season, he was the dude anyway. So this is not a Juju Antonio Brown situation. Yes, I love Justin Jefferson. And it is a GD travesty that I traded him to Matt in the listener league, thinking I was going to get the 101, and then Josh went on that winning streak, and I ended up with the 106. A unbelievable travesty that makes me want to flip my computer off of the desk and onto the floor.
Well, see, I knew I could lay back and let you have a little bit of time to rant because Justin Jefferson is one of Jerry's favorite people. Now, he is my 6, so I'm not too far off. I'm probably the one dragging him down from being in the top 3. I think I'm the one who kept him from sliding ahead of A.J. Brown. But here's
the next guy is the guy you are propping up, my friend.
Yes, it is. But here's what I would say about Justin Jefferson. I was dead wrong. I was really concerned that he was just a slot receiver. I was really concerned that he was a byproduct of that amazing offense in LSU with Joe Brady in that record-breaking season. But I was wrong, and I will be the first to admit that I was wrong. Here is my one fear, and here's why I had him at 6 and not just a hair higher. The Minnesota defense last year was chock full of rookies, and that was a bad defense, and teams were scoring on the Vikings at will. Now, one thing we know about Mike Zimmer, the head coach, is he's very defensive-minded. Now, does that mean that Justin Jefferson will just revert into a pumpkin? No, he will not return to the status of a pumpkin. He will continue to be a superstar. I just don't know if the volume will quite be there. I do expect Thielen to be back. We saw the slight emergence of Irv Smith Jr. toward the end of the season. My thought is that I just see like a 15% regression in volume. Now, maybe he can be more efficient with the volume that he gets. It's not like he was a volume monster to begin with. He just made the most of everything. So the slightest concern, so that's why he's at 6. I mean, guys, let's be honest. I mean, some of the names that you haven't heard me mention yet, and to have him at 6 after his rookie year, in my opinion, from someone who's been doing Dynasty the length that we have, To me, that's high praise. So I owned my miss on him in the rookie season, and I have him as my 6. But let's go back to 5. Let's go back to the staff 5. It is C.D. Lamb. Now, here's a guy that I have. I think I have the highest of anyone in the league. I have him as who does number 2 work for? Uh, I I love everything that I've seen from C.D. Lamb. Had quietly the quietest 970 some odd yards as a rookie I've ever seen. Had this been the year before when A.J. Brown was doing that and DK Metcalf was doing that and Terry McLaurin was doing that, we would be going bananas. But because what we saw with Justin Jefferson, he kind of just got pushed to the background because he was working with a backup quarterback like Andy Dalton. He was kind of pushed to the background. When was the last time Dallas was flexed out of Sunday Night Football? Not flexed into, but flexed out of Sunday Night Football. That happened this year. That happened. That was real life. And I know he's going to get Dak back. I know that it will continue to be a mediocre defense. I did like the Dan Quinn hiring, but this is a team that's going to put the ball in the air a lot. And then in 2022, when they can save, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, $20 million by letting Amari Cooper walk at the end of the 2021 season, that's when I really see C.D. Lamb shining. I think he easily gets over 1,000 yards receiving if Dak had played the entire season. And I think that's pretty easy to say that he could have scrounged up an extra 30 some odd yards to have been a 1,000-yard rookie wide receiver. I think we saw the upside of him, in so many facets. So I know it's a bit high. I know it's high praise. I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but I got to be honest. He is my 2. Jerry, where do you have C.D. Lamb?
I have him at 12, so I am sort of pulling him down a little bit. But this is like the A.J. Brown situation. If we're talking 365 days from now and he's almost universally considered the wide receiver 1, am I going to be surprised, Randy? Hell no, I am not. The dude was a monster. The dude was a killer, and then he got crumb bums and shoe clerks at quarterback. Sorry, Andy Dalton. I know I've brought up Andy Dalton, the red penis, twice this show, but let's talk about it. So you were talking about how he was almost a 1,000-yard wide receiver with what he had. Dak goes down week 5. Okay, so the 4 weeks before then, they scored 40, 31, 38, and 37 points. You want to know what the next month was? They scored 10, 3, 9, and 19. That's piss poor.
I know he had Dominic DiNucci. I think it was Dominic. It was definitely DiNucci.
Ben DiNucci.
I think Dominic may have been a cousin. But, he had that guy throwing him the ball. And, let's be honest, Andy Dalton did okay.
He did.
But he in no way was going to buoy the value of Lamb. I'm glad. I've been trying everywhere. No one is moving this guy in a dynasty league, nor do I blame him unless you're going to move him to me. Then I endorse that move. A big thumbs up on YouTube. All right, this next guy, he is the biggest, I won't say the biggest faller, but he definitely fell from the initial set of rankings. He was originally 4, and he's now 6. And that's DK Metcalf. After a streaking across the sky like a comet at midnight, he had a quiet back half of the season, had a nice shot play against the LA Rams, but ended the season along with Russ on a kind of limped to the end. Now for me, the reason why he fell for me personally, I personally have Metcalf in my rankings at 5, so I guess he didn't fall too far. I think I had him at 3 last time, maybe 4. The reason why I can speak for me, the reason why he fell for me is I don't love the volume. They fired their offensive coordinator today. Brian Schottenheimer is out in Seattle, so I don't know what the future is going to bring. And I think as long as Pete Carroll is the head coach, we're going to let Russ simmer and not let Russ cook. I think the offense is probably better when Russ simmers. So my only concern, all these guys are going to have a slight concern for me, is what is his volume going to look like? If he was getting the double-digit targets of some of these guys, then it would be hard to avoid putting him at 1, 2, or 3. But he's not getting that volume right now. Could he get it? Sure he could. And I don't think we're doing him a horrible disservice by having him 6 overall right now. So there's still room to grow. And so he's 5 for me, 6 for the team. What about you, Jerry?
He's 4. So we got the 4, 5, 6 with DK. I had him at 3. I put Justin Jefferson over him. But this is another situation. If he's 1, not going to be surprised. Dude was awesome. I mean, the beginning of the season was just silly, and it shows you what he can do when it was like 7 of the first 8 games. He had over 90 yards in every single game and had like 7 touchdowns. Yes, Russ stopped cooking in the second half of the season, which is not normal for Russ either. He's going to be 24 next year, and he's got a 900-yard season with 7 touchdowns under his belt and a 1,300-yard season for 10 touchdowns this past season. That's silly. I mean, that's video game silly. The dude he's a specimen. That's what I can say about DK Metcalf. And if he grows, if he evolves, I mean, it's not absurd to call the man Calvin if he can grow. And that, I mean, I'm a Lions fan, and I will always love Calvin Johnson. Jerry Rice will always be my number 1 wide receiver because he is a Jerry, and he is one of the few shining Jerrys that have existed in the history of this planet. So that's my man. But Calvin's a Lion, and to even put him in that category is something. And I do think he can grow. I think the 3-cone is dog shit, and I don't care about it, and neither should you, because that was 3 years ago, and we've seen the man be a monster. And I think if he can continue to grow, and I don't think Russell's going anywhere. I mean, Russ is going to be there, and he's gonna shine at points, and he's gonna struggle at points, and they're in a weird phase. But what I'm not going to do is overreact to them losing in the playoffs, because they're still a playoff team whenever Russell Wilson is under center. I don't care who else is on the team. If Russell Wilson is there, that is a playoff contender, and that boy's going to be there. And if he's paired up with DK Metcalf, yeah, I'm going to like DK Metcalf.
This next guy is getting a lot of respect from the DWZ crew. It's Calvin Ridley. I know you're a big fan. He comes in as our consensus 7 at the wide receiver position. I've got him a little bit lower. I've got him at 8. I don't have any concerns about his age. For me, it's just that Atlanta team in general. There's a lot of flux, but here's a guy who missed a game. He missed week 9 with an injury. He had a donut 0.0 in week 4 against Green Bay, and the guy still finished as the wide receiver 5 on the season. How dominant was that, you ask? He scored 7 more points on the season than Justin Jefferson, and he missed a game and had a goose egg in the game and still came up as the wide receiver 5. The guy is just awesome, and he's just as good with Julio in the lineup as he's with Julio out of the lineup. And let's be honest, what did they say in Captain Phillips? Calvin Ridley walked into that wide receiver room. He looked at Julio. He's like, look at me. I am the captain now. So I love Calvin Ridley. The team loves Calvin Ridley. Jerry, you love Calvin Ridley. Where do you have Ridley?
I do, but I actually, before I changed these rankings an hour before because I'm lazy. I didn't have him in my top 12. I had him at like 13 because I wanted to make sure CD was in there. But I had to creep him in there. The dude just had too good of a season for me not to. So I have him at 11. So I'm a little lower, but I think that's just the age and because of how many unbelievable young talents we have that are just spoiling us in the Dynasty community at wide receiver. It's weird. They lost Quinn, and you think, maybe the coaching change is going to affect them and they're not going to have a great run. And then the dude just rattles off down the stretch. So he starts off outside of the week 4 goose egg, which unbelievable. Unbelievable. The dude had double-digit targets 4 of the first 5 games outside of the goose egg. But then, he doesn't do everything. And then it gets down to crunch time, championship, both playoff weeks and the last week of the season when you needed him. You needed him. He got you off to a good start. And then you lost a couple games while he started to struggle, and you weren't sure if you were going to keep your bye. You weren't sure if you were going to slip out. And then it got in, and my man said, 100 yards, 100 yards, 100 yards, 100 yards. Thank you. Pay me my money. Yes, Calvin Ridley deserves to be where he is at. I might be a little lower on him than I should be. But, yeah, that's my dude. That's my dude. And who knows if Julio's ever actually going to go? He might be Frank Gore for all we know. Let's be honest.
That is true.
Whether he's there or not, Calvin's going to be a badass.
All right, this next guy reemerged as a badass on the wide receiver scene in 2020. It is Stephon Diggs. Now, he's right at that perfect age. He's right in that 27 wheelhouse. He is 8 on our consensus. He is 8 on my personal rankings as well. Obviously, we have a lot of people who have him in this range. Jerry, where are you at on Diggs? I love him. He won some championships. I am testing the waters on him in Dynasty just because of such a polarizing season, and based on my acquisition cost versus his current value, I'm not afraid to have some conversations right now. But what about you, real quick? What's up? What's up with you with Mr. Diggs?
I have him at 7. I loved him coming into the season. He was my steal in a lot of redraft leagues, and I went after him a lot. But that is way, way less important than the last sentence you just said before you cut it over to me. Talk to me. What are you looking for in a Diggs deal? Not necessarily a player, but what sort of situation are you looking for when you are trying to send him away?
You know, I think I could get that next tier of wide receivers from this most recent class. If I could get a Pittman, not Pittman, but like a Higgins plus, like a Higgins in a first for Diggs, I'm going to take that. I'm a big Higgins guy. He barely misses the top 12 in our consensus ranks. Hashtag spoiler alert.
Yeah, mine too. What kind of first are we talking?
You know, I would take anything around like after
107?
107 is right in that range, 107, 108, because then I'm going to turn Stephon Diggs into 2 wide receivers. You know, in the mock drafts we've done today at the 107, 108, you know, in a super flex, because that's what I play, super flex tight end premium, you're going to have at least 3 quarterbacks, if not 4, with Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, and Lance. Then you've got ETN and Najee Harris at the running back position. So you get in that 7 range, man, you're going to be looking at Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. So really at that point, I could turn Stephon Diggs into 2 really good young receivers and just churn the cycle. So I love Stephon Diggs. It's not like I'm, giving away for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But if I could turn his wide receiver 3 season into some future, because for me, it's all about that delta between production and my lineup, regardless of what their name is. I don't care if it's Sally Sue Jenkins. If you're giving me 17 PPR points a week, that's all that I care about. Forget the name, forget everything else. I want those points because that's how you win. And so if I can get like a T. Higgins who is shown to be able to maybe put, if Diggs was putting 20 in your roster last year in PPR, and I can maybe go back just a little bit with like a T. Higgins and get me like 15, 16, 17, but then add an entire other player, I'm in. So I want to get to number 9 because we do want to talk about some acquisition stuff with these guys. My man Run TMC, the quietest 135 targets on a season, was a yak monster. Did it with speaking of crumb bums and shoe clerks and stripper lovers and everything in between. This is the team that I really hope invests in the quarterback position in the offseason. I hope they invest in that field because that field at FedEx Field is garbage. And that's insulting to garbage everywhere. So he was the consensus 9. He's my man. I couldn't love him anymore if he were family. Now, he slid down the rankings a little bit, I think because he didn't quite crush 2020, and he kind of ended slow with the ankle the ankle injury and didn't have a great finish to the season. But he is still one of my top guys. I have him at 7, but I'm a slight bit biased. Jerry, what about you?
He's my 9th. I feel like there's a lot of people that are sort of surprised that he's a wide receiver 1. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are still trepidatious on the man, and there is nobody in the league that plays wide receiver that is performing with such dog shit at quarterback, and that is a shot at dog shit because what he has had to deal with has not been good. I know Heineke was, this is a jolly good story, and everyone's having a fun time because he's playing Tom Brady in the playoff. Tyler Heineke is not going to continue playing. Dwayne Haskins literally is not playing anymore. No, I'm good on any of those situations. I would say there is not a situation that I am looking forward to more in the draft than a potential quarterback spot in Washington. I would love to see them take one of those guys that slips, whoever it is in this class that just has I don't want to say Teddy Bridgewater because I would like a quarterback that's better than Teddy Bridgewater, but you know what I mean, to fall back and they take it because that man needs something. And he doesn't actually need something because he produces no matter what, but go ahead.
I was going to say, because they're actually drafted 18th. So they may either have to reach early for like a Kyle Trask or a Mac Jones, or they're going to be dipping a toe in some free agent waters. So to be determined. The next guy, I love him too, DJ Moore. He kind of fell from this time last year. Had the quietest 1,200-yard season. He's a guy who just doesn't get in the end zone enough. And I know Robbie Anderson had a really good season for him. He finished top 18 in PPR at the wide receiver position. But if you stuck it out with DJ Moore, you started to see there toward the middle back end of the season of what this man can do. I think he could get a QB upgrade, and that's not a shot at Teddy Two Gloves. I think you're going to see Carolina. I've seen rumors of them drafting Trey Lance at 9th overall, and letting him do a little red shirt, a little journeyman under Teddy Bridgewater for a year, and then Teddy would turn it over to him, kind of Mahomes-esque, if you will, with Mahomes' rookie year, where he sat behind Alex Smith for one season, and I think that would be great. I'm a big DJ Moore guy. Anything on DJ Moore, Jer?
Yep, he's my 10 also. You just want to see him get in the end zone. The production is there, everything you want from the man, and you watch him play and you see it. And you love it. And he's a nice, young, talented guy. And he's just ready to explode into this top tier. He just doesn't score at that level. And you do need the points when it comes down to this. He's great to have. And you love the consistency of the production. But to get into these top tier guys where you're the top end of the wide receiver ones, you need to get close to double-digit touchdowns with everything else you have. So I think he is ranked correctly there. I've seen some hate, and I don't really get it. I mean, he had a very quiet, successful year. I think it's just because without Christian McCaffrey, people did not pay attention to Carolina as much as they should.
Well, these next two guys are probably going to get us a little heat as a group, but that's okay. If you don't evolve, you die. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not moving, you're dying. Michael Thomas. And for me, this was a lot less to do with the fact that he's going to be 28 in the off season. For me, this is more about, and I actually have him 11 as well. This is more about, what does his life with Drew Brees retiring look like? I know we saw a little bit with Taysom Hill. That does me no well. That does me no good. That does me no satisfaction knowing that I don't know what's going on. He's still valued like a premium asset. I'm sure there's a ton of dynasty services out there that have him in the top 5 or 6. I just can't do it. Don't get me wrong. If I could get him this late, maybe as like a wide receiver 2, or maybe you went in the startup, maybe you went quarterback early, and then you want to nail down a wide receiver to go with. Okay. But the days of him being the top wide receiver 1, 2, 3 are over. He's a very volume dependent guy. I think he'll still get volume. But I'm to the point now to where, you add in his age, his uncertainty at the quarterback position, you certainly have to move him down. Where did you have Thomas before we wrap this thing up?
I have Thomas at 8, but like you said, if he was the guy that was not ranked in this top 12 next year, also would not surprise me. For all the same reasons you said. I don't know what the hell to expect with him, but he did show some things with Taysom, which is why I still kept him where I did. And I mean, he can create separation. The guy is good, and the guy catches a shitload. And I think Sean Payton is still going to want to pass it a lot. So I can't drop him there yet, but I might be too late to the party when I do it next year. Because for everything that you said, I'm with you. I'm on board.
All right, we have one last guy. This last guy is very polarizing to me, and that's Chris Godwin. He didn't make everyone's top 12, but neither did DeAndre Hopkins. I know people are like, where's D-Hop? Dude, he's 29. This is a Dynasty show. It's not a redraft show. He can be in our top 12 in redraft in 2021, but he can't be with his age and the way his season ended. That's a no for me, dog. But Chris Godwin is very polarizing because, I thought earlier I was doing some stuff for the Patreon, and I was like, maybe he gets franchise tagged, but what if? What if Tampa Bay liked enough of what they saw out of Antonio Brown to try to get one cheap year out of him and roll with Mike Evans and Scotty Miller as their 3 wide receivers and lets Godwin hit the open market? Can they afford to scratch him a $15 million check? Do I think he'll get the $20 million that Julio got or that Michael Thomas got? No, I do not. But I think he's certainly going to want to be in that OBJ, Adam Thielen range. So he is still very young. He could wind up in a lot of situations, but I believe in the talent of Chris Godwin. That's why he was my personal 12. And he was in, let's see, I see a 10 out there, an 11. So, yeah, he's right there in that range. I mean, he barely edged out the Hopkins, the Higgins, and a couple of other guys. Where are you at with Godwin, Jerry?
I did not have him in my top 12, but he would have been right there, right on the precipice. And if he jumped up to wide receiver 3, 4, 5 next year, not a shocker. There's a bunch of guys that could easily do that, and it's all the guys that have come out in the last 2 or 3 years. I think the Hopkins are the ones that can fall. I think Devontae Adams is a guy that can fall. Stephon Diggs potentially. I don't think those are the guys that can jump into be, consistently wide receiver ones going into the future. Godwin could definitely be in there. I didn't have him in there. His situation is a little weird. He did not do the best. He still looks great when you watch him, but yeah, I don't know. He is a polarizing player. I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. I did have Hopkins inside my top 12 just because he's going to play in Arizona for the next 3 years.
Was that a name value thing? I mean, did you love the production that you got out of him this year?
No, of course not. But Kyler's going to be there, and he's going to be there because he's owed an ungodly amount of money. Is his trade value going to get worse? Absolutely, because the age will choke it until it is useless. That's what we're seeing with Julio Jones at this time. But I don't think the production is going to be that much worse. I think we're still looking at 1,200 yards out of DeAndre Hopkins, and he's going to have a good quarterback to tie him to. But if you're going to try and trade for him, I don't think you're going to be getting what you want. And I think Godwin, conversely, is a nice little buy because there's people like me that don't really know what to do with him. And if he was the wide receiver 2, like he literally has already shown in his small NFL career, sky's the limit for him.
All right, we're going to jump into one last segment here with the show. Just remember that next week on Mock Draft Monday, we're going to mash up a couple of rookie classes of running backs. We're going to mix up 2019, 2020, and then these 2021 prospects to see where they stand amongst their most recent competition. And then next Tuesday, Jerry and I will be repeating this exercise with the running back position. Everybody loves a good running back conversation, Jerry. So let's jump into one last final segment. We'll make it kind of short. We're going to talk about some startup strategy and how we acquire these wide receivers. So when you're in a startup, what is your strategy around acquiring wide receivers?
I hoard them. That's
okay.
My main strategy is to not necessarily punt year one, but to set myself up for the future. I like to draft the elite wide receivers early. I like to trade back a round or 2 rounds and accumulate future first round picks that I can either take or that I can, trade or whatever I need to do. So I am always accumulating wide receivers. I lost Randy and I have no idea what to do on StreamYard. So I'm just going to keep rambling. This is fun. If you're not watching on YouTube right now, you have no idea why I just did that, but it's just me on YouTube, and this is great. We are off the rails. This is going to be fun. But no, always take wide receivers. They are younger. They last longer. They don't get hurt as much. They are more stable assets. They are who you should build your teams around, quarterbacks and wide receivers, because you don't have to deal with the volatility of Clyde Edwards-Helaire being Dynasty RB1 after week 1 and a Dynasty diaper by week 17. Todd Gurley falling off the face of the earth. James Conner no longer being an asset worth having. The running backs are just scary. So I always hoard wide receivers. And by the time I'm done with the draft and I look at my roster and I have 4 or 5 wide receivers that I know are just going to slaughter teams for a year or two, money. Thank you. Those are always the best looking teams. Those are always the teams that end up great, and they always put you in a spot to win year 2.
I agree for the most part.
Okay. All right.
Depends on what my strategy is, what my goal going into the league is. If I'm going to do productive struggle, I am going to go young quarterback, young wide receiver, and I'll figure out the running back position in year 2, year 3. I don't think there's any point in drafting, the running back and then trying to figure out the wide receivers. I would much rather go like quarterback, wide receiver, quarter, and I know I'm going to struggle in year 1, but that's fine. I'm going to trade back. I'm going to trade out of the first round. I'm going to, stock up on the middle picks when I can. But if I'm doing that, it makes no sense for me to be drafting the DeAndre Hopkins of the world or the Mike Thomas of the world. I've got to get DK Metcalfs. I've got to get AJ Browns. I've got to get Justin Jeffersons. I may be on the borderline of guys like Terry McLaurin, like Stephon Diggs, who are 27.
I agree with you.
If I'm planning a year or 2 out, I've actually got to sit back and be like, by the time this team's ready to compete, these guys are, 27, 28, 29 years old. And then you're kind of stuck in this cycle. So you have to be drafting the kind of wide receivers that fit the kind of draft you're doing. What about in rookie drafts, Jerry? Are you a rookie drafting wide receiver guy?
I mean, it depends where I'm at, but and it depends on the year. But no, draft running backs, trade for wide receivers, my friend. That will firmly and probably permanently be the strategy, just because they can return so much value so much quicker for the most part. 2020 aside, because we had so many damn good wide receivers. But like this year, if I don't get Najee and I don't get Travis Etienne, no, I'll probably take a lot of wide receivers. What about you? Have you switched?
Well, I haven't switched, but it depends on the league that I play in, my man. A lot of the leagues that I'm going to now are 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 super flex, and 5 flex. So my reliance on any one position are the things of old. I draft based off of my league, and then I'm kind of looking at best player available. If I have a league coming up, I won't say which one because you're in it and I hate you and I don't want you doing anything dastardly around me. But I'm at the 103. It's a 1 QB league. It's my last remaining 1 QB league, but it's one of my personal favorites. And I've got the 103, and I feel pretty comfortable that Najee Harris and Travis Etienne are gonna move in front of me. I am not going to reach for like a Javonte Williams. I'm not going to reach for a Kenneth Gainwell, a Trey Sermon, unless one of those guys land in just an ideal landing spot. If Trey Sermon for some reason gets like 2nd round draft capital to Miami, then I've got to listen. But if not, if I'm there at the 103 and Jamar Chase is staying in there, then I got to do what I got to do. I'll figure out getting a running back later. But I was always draft, running back and trade for wide receiver. The days of me reaching based on the success. I mean, you can go back to 2018, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore. We liked what we saw out of Cortland Sutton, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. And then last year, Justin Jefferson, Pittman, Rager, Lamb, Ayuk. The list goes on and on and on. The bust rate around wide receivers has went way down. So I feel more comfortable than ever drafting those guys. So it's really going to draft for value and best player available, and I'll figure out the need later. So
what about startups? What's your strategy with wide receivers and startups?
Oh, like I said,
I know you talked about the productive struggle. Let's say you're not. Let's say you want to win year 1.
Then I'm going to be looking for.
Are you taking wide receivers if you're trying to win year 1?
I'm going to take wide receivers in the middle. I'm going to really, if my goal is to win in a startup in year 1, I'm really going to be dialed into quarterback, and you got to get running back. So depending on where I'm drafting, if I'm drafting in the front half of the draft, it's probably going to be a quarterback. If I'm drafting in the back end of the first, obviously you have the turn, and I'm going to hit quarterback, running back to back. And I will probably do that 2 rounds in a row, because we just talked about how deep the wide receiver position is. I know that if I'm going to compete in year one, I can try to stock up on some of these, the Pittmans, and then you can layer in some older veterans. You can try to take a gamble on a Thielen, and you can piece something together. You can trade back. I think some of the best teams I've ever built were trading back. So again, it would just come down to what the goal was.
Let me follow you up with one more for startups before we get out of here. When do you take rookies in startups, not rookie drafts? Are
Picks
you
are
a
the
person
actual
that
player.
do you gamble it? What's up?
So it really comes down to the draft. If the draft itself, some of the best drafts I've ever done are when the rookie picks are included, not the players they represent, but the picks. So like you can draft the 101 or the 102 or the 4, whatever. Those are the ones that I prefer because I think I have a better value on those. It's really simple. That's like the exercise we did on Mock Draft Monday. Hey, I value this guy more than this guy. I'm going to go ahead and slate him in where I would draft the other guy. And I'm going to be too early than too late on young guys. Because here's the thing. What I don't want is I don't want to look around in the summer and be like, man, I got a bunch of guys with nowhere to go value-wise. T.Y. Hilton, last part of the season, Marvin Jones. I mean, those guys are a dime a dozen. Unfortunately, at this point in their careers, and you can find those roster cloggers later. I'm going to be around early on rookies and rookie picks than I am a veteran.
I like it. I ain't mad at you. I like to pile them in. I feel, especially like what you said with the picks, I feel like picks are valued more so than rookies with names are in startup drafts. So I actually end up accumulating more. But
well, one last thing. So when do you make your trade moves on wide receivers? Is there like, do you time it out? Do you try to get ahead of it? Are you going to pay up? What's your philosophy with trading for them?
Usually, from my experience, they are actually a lot easier to trade for. You can always tell, as long as there is a big running back available and you are in a spot where you can trade down, you will always get paid because people are always willing to pay for. This last year it was Derrick Henry's the last of a tier, or Nick Chubb's there, Dalvin Cook's there, whoever it is, always. This year, it's probably going to be Ezekiel Elliott. He's probably going to be the back end of the good running backs, would be my guess, just because a lot of people are down on him. And if he's the last guy before you have to start gambling on guys, people will always come crawling. So that's when I like to trade, is when running backs are available. When wide receivers are the best one on the board, I'm just taking them. I'm not going to trade out of it. I'll take what I can get.
Me, I like to trade for things that are going to accumulate value. So I'm going to use a hashtag humble brag. So wanted to go back to back and trade Addict 7. There's a lot of really good Dynasty analysts in that league. I'll name drop a few because I'll forget some. But Bobby Koch of the DLF, John Hurley of the DTC, Russ. Dynasty Outhouse runs it. Tyler Gunther and Doug Eddy of the Dynasty Happy Hour. Casey Kasem, Michael Sipes of the Dynasty Trades HQ. Just a Riley Bymaster of DTC. Just a really star-studded, Peter Howard, star-studded group of ladies and gents. And I won the championship in the startup season, and I really, really wanted to go back-to-back. So I made a trade with John Paul Hurley of the DTC. I sent him Terry McLaurin. I sent him Cole Kmet. This is a tight end premium, 1.75 per reception for a tight end. And I sent the 202 for Devontae Adams. It meted out just about perfectly in the DTC. So I did that. I won the championship, reigning and defending. By the way, kids, as an MMA fan, I can tell you that once you've won the championship, you are the reigning champion. But when you go back to back, Bruce Buffer will introduce you as the reigning and defending champion. And I am the reigning and defending champion. But I have got Devontae Adams and a lot of trade offers out there right now. I'm looking to get CeeDee Lamb in a little bit. My goal is to try to get CeeDee Lamb and an early first, and hopefully just counter for CeeDee Lamb, and I'll take any second. With this team, I've got Jonathan Taylor on this team as an etc. I'm looking to move him. He served my purpose, Devontae Adams. So I'm looking to get younger in the offseason. I'm looking for guys. Remember last year this time we were talking about.
Hold on. Sorry to interrupt. You were defending champion and you got Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, I did some trading.
Okay. All right. Continue. Sorry.
Let's just say your boy did a little moving for a guy, maybe
dealing, as they say.
Wheeling, dealing, and stealing. Let's just say prior to the rookie draft, your boy might have moved Joe Mixon for an early pick, and then I think I had the 104, and then I moved the 104 and something else to get the 102, and I got JT there, and I stuck with him all season. So yeah, man, I do some things. I'm good. I'm good at fantasy football. In case you didn't know. But yeah, man, I'm looking. So you remember this time last year, maybe a couple months, maybe we're 10 months away. We had John Hurley of the DTC on here, and we were talking about guys whose value would go up, 50% or double in their trade calculator. A tool that we both advocate for. We both have memberships to. And Terry McLaren was one of my guys. Well, he went from a 20 in their calculator. He's currently valued at a 38. I'm looking to move Devontae Adams for the next guy that I think is going to, go from a 20 to a 38 or a 20 to even a 30 and get a first-round pick on top of it. That's not to say that I don't like Devontae Adams, but like I said earlier, I don't care if your name's Sally Sue Jenkins, your name is Muhammad Gandhi. I really don't care. If you're giving me 18 PPR points a game, come on over, Rover, because I'm looking for W's. And if I can get this similar production and additional capital on top, that's how I move just about everybody, but especially wide receivers. I'm always looking for the next big thing while getting similar production while the next big thing grows. So that's where I'm at, Jerry. This is going to be a fun month, man. We're going to do this with 3 more position groups, and we're going to start having some guests. I invited a guest on next Monday for Mock Draft Monday. We're going to be doing running backs next week, my friend.
And is there anything that people love to talk about more or need to listen to more than running backs? Yeah. No, I'm excited. And I'm going to have to update my list. Maybe I will do it before an hour before the show. Not likely, though. We'll see.
Yeah, much like tonight, you will send me a text. You'll be like, hey, man, here's my rankings. And
mind you, everyone else has been done for a week and a half, but it's
Jerry gonna Jerry, but that's why I love him, because he is my man of the hour. He is the man with the power. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. We got a lot coming for you this off season. We have a lot coming for you in 2021. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. Make sure you're dialed into the YouTube. And if you're interested in being on the Dynasty Happy Hour contractor, email me, dynastywarzone@gmail.com, and we'll get you on there. But until next time, his name is Jerry. My name is Memphis. And remember, here at the Dynasty Warzone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.